Hi everyone, and welcome back to my music reviews. Zero here, who loves music like he loves peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and in today's review, I'm going to be giving my quick little thoughts on the newest album by Logic called Ultra 85. Maryland-based rapper, singer, producer, author, man of many talents, Bobby Tarantino, aka Logic, just released his long-awaited ninth studio album titled Ultra 85 on August 9th, which is his second album under his independent record label ever since he left Def Jam called BOBBYBOY Records. This album is the follow-up to 2023's College Park, which is an album that marked Logic's first 100% independent release as an artist, ever since his 2013 mixtape Young Sinatra Welcome to Forever. So because of his newfound independence, it also marked a much different stylistic approach for Logic and his music. Ever since the release of 2022's Vinyl Days, the music started feeling much less commercial and mainstream, and more just felt like Logic having fun making music and getting complete creative control over it. This is exactly how Ultra 85 feels, and if I'm being totally honest, is a huge blessing, because Ultra 85 may just be Logic's strongest project to date. I'd say the long wait for this project was about 100% worth it, because on this project, Logic is ditching the commercial, conscious hip-hop sound for a more oldies boom-bap feel, which is reminiscent of projects such as No Pressure and Vinyl Days, and it's the type of sound that Logic gives his best performances on. There are a plethora of interesting and captivating flows on this thing, along with bars and lyrics that help Logic, in my opinion, completely beat the allegations of being corny, as they feel much more true to the heart this time around, rather than something that feels recycled from the hip-hop dumpster bin. And the story that this album continues from its spiritual predecessor, The Incredible True Story, is interesting and really adds to this album's epic space opera feel. However, I feel like sometimes Logic still has trouble finding a hook or chorus that doesn't sound utterly ridiculous or unintentionally funny. For example, on the track Teleport, Logic give us the arguably lowest point of this album, with a hook so corny that should be growing on a field in Nebraska. Bitch, you bugging me like zzz. 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 Yeah, you pretty much get it now. And some of the other hooks on this thing don't feel nearly as interesting as a good majority of what Logic is saying in the verses, but other than that, I feel like Logic really brings his best pen game to this album on all fronts. Some of my favorite tracks on this thing were the ones where Logic tells a cohesive and interesting story. For example, the track Once Upon a Time in Hollywood not only references the critically acclaimed Tarantino classic, but also sees Logic telling a story on his life about how far he's come and how much better things have gotten for him since he released The Incredible True Story in 2015. He talks about how the gang and drug life he used to be affiliated with doesn't matter anymore now that he has a son and his wife, which is all he needs. And along with an interesting story, also features some insanely clever bars and punchlines that don't feel the least bit corny or overused. Feels like Logic is finally establishing his own signature flow and sound that feels original and never done before, even if this style of hip-hop isn't entirely new. The track Interstellar is another deep and raw cut on this album that not only references the famous Christopher Nolan film, but also sees Logic being vulnerable and open up a little bit more about how being famous and rich and having all this success can be draining, and reminds you that your favorite celebrities are still human and despite having all this fortune, can and do still suffer from mental illness. It's a great little track that I feel like a lot of people who worship celebrities and view them as gods should all hear, because at the end of the day, your favorite celebrities are just as human as you or the guy who is homeless and begs for change every single day. It also features a solid chorus from singer Lucy Rose that really sets the depressing but cathartic mood for this track, and talks about how nobody is ever really going to know what you go through to get to the place that you want to be at in life, and how only the positives are seen amongst the general public. It's a great song and definitely a favorite of mine on this project, and once again continues the introspective story that Logic is trying to paint with this project. It's going to be kind of hard to go through every single track on this album and talk about which ones I like best, because I feel like a lot of the songs on this project really had, like I said, some of Logic's strongest flows, strongest bars, strongest punchlines, and they all just tell a very, very cohesive story, and they're all told in a very cohesive and interesting way that never feels samey or recycled. And based on Logic's experimentation in the past with projects like Supermarket, it's probably better off staying this type of style rather than something like that. I'd say really the only track I was slightly disappointed with on this project is the single 44 Ever, because when you're going back on songs like 44 Bars and 44 More, and thinking about how many different flows and like changes and style ups and fucking, beat switches on those songs that there were, and how they told a really interesting and deep story on those songs, I feel like this one kind of falls flat in that regard. It kind of just feels like a braggadocious track that's just there for the sake of being braggadocious, and I don't really feel like it fits that well on this project. Also considering that the style of that song is much more mainstream and modern and trappier than some of the other songs on this project. Ultra 85 is a beautifully made album and arguably Logic's strongest effort to date. It is a deep and introspective cut into Logic's Logic's life and mental state, and he gives us some of his most thrilling and exciting performances. What helps is the fact that because Logic is independent now, he can make whatever type of music he wants to now, having full creative control, and it pays off to the best extent possible. I'm feeling a strong 9 on this project, and yeah, great album. Thank you guys so much for watching my short little review of Logic's Ultra 85. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and until the next one, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.